today for our giving thanks on Giving Tuesday. By the way, we are recording, so thank you for that, Will. I am a current Read and Feed board member. I'm also the president-elect, and I'll be beginning my term in January, so I'm very excited about that. In this unusual time in our world, we've really remained cautious and respectful about how we get together, gathering in person. But we wanted to find a really special way to say thank you to all of you, our valued supporters. And so we really felt like Giving Tuesday was just the perfect opportunity to do this and the perfect time. So thank you for taking time to join us today and kind of hear where we are. A couple technical things I'll point out first. Right now, everyone is on mute. If you need to unmute, it's in the bottom, I think, left of your screen. So just unmute yourself if that's something you need to do. Also, if you're having issues with Zoom or you would like to ask a question or speak, you can use the chat function that is at the bottom of your screen, and we will answer kind of most of those questions at the end of the call, but feel free to type them in the chat. Lisa and Will are going to be watching those as we go. Okay, so let's get started. First up is a poll. You guys have done this before, so we remember how to do it. So Lisa and Will are going to launch the poll. Our question for today is, how are you involved with Read and Feed? So just check all of the answers that apply to you. And we will start with kind of figuring out who we have on the phone today. All right, so you should have the poll. It says, are you a volunteer, a donor, a board member, nonprofit professional, or if you're just a friend? So go ahead and check the ones that apply to you. And then click submit when you're done. And we'll get the results of that poll up in just a second. And Will and Lisa, all right. I have the results of the poll too, so I'm going to go ahead and share that. I'll share the good news. So folks who are in our Zoom today, it looks like 41% of you guys on the phone are volunteers. So thank you very much for the time you spend with our students or organizing books or whatever you're helping us with volunteering. 59% of those of you on the phone are donors, so thank you for that. And I'm so excited for you to hear how your funds are applied and really changing the lives of children. And then 29% of us on the phone are board members, so welcome to the board members. We don't have any nonprofit professionals today. I kind of wanted just to check that, but I didn't. And then friends, we have 29% friends on the phone today. So welcome everyone. It's great to know we have such a good mix today. It's really important to understand kind of where we are right now and how Read and Feed has continued to meet the challenges of COVID-19 and really what it's meant to the students and the families that we've served. It has been quite a bit for us to overcome. This is really all about helping children. It's really just that simple. It's about reading and it's about food, those two things. So, obviously early on, Read and Feed recognized a fact about learning in Wake County. Such a large number of kids come to school hungry. And if you're hungry, you just don't learn as well. So taking that into consideration, Read and Feed came up with a way to make that tutoring time more effective by including a healthy snack or a meal. And that meal does so many things. It really fills the need for the child and nourishes them. And it also kind of just gives a natural break in the reading sessions. But it really allows the volunteer to get to know the children as they work together. So that time spent reading is great, but the time spent eating is when they really get to sit with the children. You get to learn kind of and be in their lives a little bit. So it's a super critical part of our program. And then, of course, the second part is the reading component. COVID learning loss has really left so many children even further behind in their reading mastery. than they were before. And we hear so much positive feedback from our reading tutors about how kids are learning, but not only learning, they're learning to read and have fun. So, for example, how a student just looks up at folks with pride when they've tackled a really difficult word or a long word. And then how excited and antsy they are to wait to choose books at the end of their reading hour. That progress and for the students and that excitement is just so worth it. So that's why we continue to keep focused and really pushing forward with our goals. And thank you. It's why we're all here today. So one of the things we're going to talk about today is our Double the Impact plans. And our goal for Giving Tuesday, which is today, is to raise $10,000 in 24 hours. I mean, so it's noon, 12 of our hours are gone. So we all got to hop to it, right? But the 10,000 that we want to raise today is going to have an even greater impact because our Double the Match campaign challenge is going on. So that 10,000 can turn into 20,000 today. And that's really going to let us continue to serve a lot of kids and do what we do best, which is give the kids a great appetite for reading. During Giving Tuesday today and our matching gift challenge, all new and increased gifts will be doubled. So just keep that in mind. We're very excited about that. But before we hear more details on that from our executive director, let's hear from one of our longtime volunteers. So who could possibly be a better person to share the needs of students in our community and her experience than Mary Allison? Mary is a Wake County public educator, teacher. She's a child advocate. And so Mary Allison, we are so excited to have you today. Thank you for joining us. And can you just tell us a little bit about how you got started with Read and Feed, and also a little bit about your site and how that works?
Great. Thank you, Nancy. My name is Mary Allison Henry. I am a third grade teacher at Holly Ridge Elementary School out in Holly Springs, and I am the team lead / site coordinator. I have a wonderful co-partner, Susan Morrison, that works with me at our school, and we have been involved in Read and Feed for the past 12 years. We got started, and I got started with my involvement with Read and Feed in 2009 when Susan and I were approached by Jan Frantz, the founder, to pilot the first summer reading program to help fill in the gaps for students in our community. She does live in the Holly Springs community. And what she was noticing that those students, there was a particular group of students that didn't have reading resources and support at home outside of the school, and as a direct result, didn't really have an excitement for reading. And so she came up with the idea to pull up an RV, sort of like the old bookmobiles, and provide the kids with a snack, as Nancy was saying, and provide them the support through volunteers and the resources through free books that Read and Feed does. We started the summer program in the Maple Ridge community, which is a subsidized housing community right down from where our school is located that year, and have had the Read and Feed RV pull up to the same spot by the mailboxes every school year and every summer since. 12 years that RV has been making its way to Burdock Street right in that community, and it has become a weekly staple, something that not only the kids in the community look forward to, but the parents as well. We have become a welcomed sight to everybody in the neighborhood. For this community and so many others around Wake County, Read and Feed is the one weekly event that participating students get to call their thing, their special activity outside of school that they can talk about, brag about to their friends. And I want to share a couple of specific examples of you for how that has worked for a couple of the kids that are long-standing members and participants within our program. For example, Angel, who is a 5th grader, and his brother Yerrick, who's the 3rd grader at our site, moved to the US from Ecuador 3 years ago. They came to the Maple Ridge community, and our school had, and at the time, had never in Ecuador received any formalized education. That was not something that had been provided to them. Due to the lack of access and work schedule for their families, this is a group of students that was not going to be joining the local soccer or baseball team. They wouldn't be going to the local library for story time or other community events that were provided within the community. However, after being recommended to the Read and Feed program every Thursday for 3 years straight, they have showed up to the RV to read books and play games with their volunteers, and Read and Feed is now their thing that they get to talk about to their friends about at the lunch table and on the playground. It is their extracurricular activity that they get to take pride in and look forward to coming to each and every week. They are both now, 3 years later, English readers who initially started off working on learning just the letters and sounds of the alphabet with us their very first summer, and are now able to read short, full-length books and discuss their comprehension of those books in English, a major accomplishment for these brothers. They take so much pride in each week, each new skill that they accomplish and book that they read. Read and Feed provides them that space to practice and show off their newly achieved skills with their volunteers and their Read and Feed peers. And I think that's one of the other things that makes such an impact for these students is it's not just their peers at school, but it's peers within their own community. When Read and Feed comes into these communities, it provides an opportunity for them, not just them playing around in the street or getting to play ball with each other, but it provides an academic related connection that neighbors get together and get to talk about the books that they were reading or continue reading books that they take home with each other. And I think the impact for that, more than just a singular excitement about book, developing an excitement for books within a whole community, that impact is something that is just so extra special. Not a day goes by at our school where they don't come up to either Susan or I every morning and ask, we're having Read and Feed this week, right? And that usually starts first thing Monday morning. Our site meets on Thursdays. So Monday morning, Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning, and even Thursday, we're having Read and Feed this week, right? Which is so special to us because it really shows how invested they are and how excited they are about the program. It's also important to note that Read and Feed's impact stretches farther than just helping students practice language. For our long haulers, as we call them, students who may have started with us in kindergarten or first grade and have continued with the program until they age out after 5th grade, it gives them a space to develop more than just reading skills, but socialization and leadership skills as well. 2 other students that I want to share their stories with you, William and Angie, for example, started with us as first grade students who needed full adult-led support with decoding, putting words together to read fluently, just basic sentences. As they progressed into their next 2 grades, 2nd and 3rd, even though each had gained a lot of skills and were starting to show average proficiency in their classrooms, we continued to allow them to participate in the program, not just from a learning standpoint, but because they wanted to keep coming. Telling a child that they can't come and participate anymore because they are doing too well in school is not an easy conversation to have. Now that they could read, we moved from working with them on finite decoding skills to building enjoyment and stamina through adult guided discussions within a book club or book club group format, giving them the space in a relaxed, no pressure environment where they could laugh, giggle at funny books, or empathize with a character in a little more serious of a text. We also incorporated writing with them each week, teaching them how to communicate and write their feelings about what they were reading. The following 2 years in 4th and 5th grade, now experts at Read and Feed, we were able to use them as examples for our younger students of the program of what they could grow to be as readers. These are students that are now looked up to in their neighborhood and looked up to as examples of, hey, that's what it looks like to be an excited reader or to be excited about learning. And again, not just focusing on the learning, but focusing on the socialization and teaching them the proper way to be a part of a community, the proper way to hold and carry on a conversation or a discussion about a topic. All of those are skills that are covered and taught within that Read and Feed setup. What a better example to set than to show how fun and enjoyable reading in a community can be. They learned from their volunteers that had worked with them year after year how a discussion should run. And now they were able to take ownership of the text to talk to each other and discuss as a true book club would run in a typical format. The impact Read and Feed has had on these two students is apparent as they don't want to stop coming. They have both now aged out of our program. For William, now with younger siblings of his own that are in the program, he continues to come back as a middle schooler to help each week through setting up snack for us, choosing the books to put out on the table that students are going to take home that night. And for Angie, who also now has younger siblings in the program, she comes and pairs up with a volunteer who is working with a beginning reader and helps teach them as she once was taught those many, many years ago. Read and Feed gave them the space to develop care and excitement, not just over reading, but a cause and an activity that they were and still are invested in for the betterment of their neighborhood and community. Now, here's where Reading or Giving Tuesday comes in. None of this would be possible without that financial support from you and others in the Wake County community. That financial support allows us to have more stories like Williams and Angel's and Yerrick's and Angie's, and will allow our stories to continue, hopefully, for many, many more years to come. I'm going to hang around at the end. I know that they have set it up where we'll have a question and answer session towards the end. So if you have particular questions about a site or how it runs, or other personal questions that you'd like to ask about the students, feel free to keep those questions in mind and you can ask them at the end. And Nancy, I'll turn it back over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mary Allison. That's such a heartwarming story. And apparently there's a third thing Read and Feed does well, which is to grow and develop volunteers. So kudos to you on that one. In addition to being Giving Tuesday today, there's another reason that it's a very special day for the Read and Feed organization and our family. It is a workiversary for our executive director, Sherry Shudra. And so Sherry joined us 1 year ago today on Giving Tuesday, and we're so thankful for her. And I'm so excited for you to hear from Sherry kind of about the progress over this year and more on our impact to double the impact. So Sherry.
Thank you, Nancy. And yes, it's going to be so easy to remember from now forward, my workiversary. So thank you all so much for joining us today. I'm really excited to celebrate my first Read and Feed anniversary with each of you here today. And, you know, together we have accomplished so much this year, even in spite of, you know, lots of challenges throughout COVID. So, but of course, I could not do any of this without our incredible staff. We do have two staff members that are here with us today. One that is out taking a little bit of a break, well-deserved, I might add. So unfortunately, Amber Simmons, our Program and Evaluation Director, is not with us today, but I do want to make sure that I recognize both Lisa Brown, our Development Associate, for her efforts and hard work, and also Will Transu, which none of us believe we could do anything without Will in the office. He is definitely provides a lot of our backbone services as our operations and systems manager. So we are so grateful for him and thankful for him helping us out even behind the scenes today. Also, I do want to recognize some wonderful new volunteers. I mentioned them before we got started, but we do have a couple of folks that I saw logged in that are from Leadership Raleigh. And so I believe that I saw Angela and Brian, and we are going to have a terrific team that is joining us, and they are doing a special project for us as we move forward, working towards our 15th anniversary and some expansion of recognition and awareness in the community. So I'm really grateful for you all to join us today and just thankful for everyone. I also want to recognize those that are on our board. We have a wonderful board of directors, and we have just recently had our elections. And as Nancy mentioned in her introduction, that she's going to be becoming our president. But I do want to recognize our outgoing officers who have just done an amazing job. Tina Vrabel, our president, Nancy, who has served as our VP, Sue Stevens, who has done an amazing job as our secretary and chair of governance, and also Christopher Meredith, who has served for several years now as our treasurer. So we're not really losing them. They're just moving to other positions. And so I'm so excited to announce our incoming officers that will take over in January. Again, Nancy, I'm so excited to work with you as president. Christopher is moving into a senior VP role. We're adding a second VP role for Matt Merletti, who's a relatively new board member. Give him an opportunity for developing some leadership with our organization. We're so excited about having him. Catherine Raymond, who has served with us for a number of years now. I'm so excited for her to take over the secretary role and have her voice on that executive committee. And also Wilson Zhang from KPMG is going to be moving into the treasurer role. So I'm really thrilled to have all of them and to retain everyone, but to have some new officers joining us. And so we're really excited about that. I want to thank everyone. So, well, the word that we have learned to embrace this year is absolutely flexibility. So, of course, in March 2020, the organization had to stop some in-person tutoring for the safety of students, families, and volunteers. And we've been very, very focused on safety. And so we quickly pivoted to, during that time, to still continuing to deliver meals, books, incentives, literacy activities, anything we could send home with the students to do at home, and continue our wonderful partnership with Wake County Public Schools. And then last spring, as we started to see vaccines in place and had the opportunity to get back to more in-person tutoring, we offered a 3-tier approach where we were providing book and meal distribution. Some sites added on a virtual tutoring component, and then other sites went completely back to in-person. We were so grateful for that. And so, but we've continued to remain flexible and just continue to adapt to the needs of our students and families and volunteers. And we even transitioned to doing outdoor tutoring everywhere we possibly could. So we would set up shop and make certain that we could see students no matter what. And we're still doing that in many locations. And so during this time, we really witnessed that joy that Mary Allison has talked about with students. There were excited dance moments as students rejoined us, could not contain their excitement. You could definitely see the smiles in their eyes as the mobile classroom pulled up to a location after being away for such a long time. And then just, even we continue to receive inquiries from new parents and communities asking us constantly how their children can get the help that they need, particularly post-COVID, and sharing stories with us about how their child has really struggled during this time frame. So we expanded our in-person programming over the summer. We did not take a break over the summer. We expanded our programming and also partnered with Boys and Girls Clubs. So we were still able to provide students with literacy tutoring, and we were able to do it 2 times per week. So we doubled our impact over the summer, also offering double the books, double the meals, healthy snacks, and of course, ultimately doubled the impact for those students. It really made a big difference for those students that were with us those 6 or 8 weeks this summer, depending on which program they were in. And so we were really also able to see students' mindsets change. And so, we literally heard students go from, the first day of, it's summer, they're thinking that, they really would prefer to have their vacation time and be playing ball somewhere, kind of went from this, I hate reading, it's so hard, to it's really not that hard if I try, and it's really not that hard if I have some help. So as the summer began to end, we had certainly hoped that we would shift back to normal, but then the Delta variant emerged. So COVID stories continue. We understand hesitancy over volunteering in a setting that might cause some additional risk. So we certainly understood that and kind of gave us a flashback to what it was like in the beginning. But once again, we still found that there were tons of volunteers that were still willing to help out despite that difficulty. And so again, because we had embraced flexibility, we were able to work with sites to make sure that everybody was comfortable with the level of services that we were providing. Again, maintaining that wonderful partnership with Wake County Public Schools, and particularly as they are experiencing such staffing shortages. I'm sure you've heard about that on the news. They're very challenged in terms of really being terribly overworked, and everyone is really pitching in to try to help out. And so we're also trying to really do our part and support them as well. So we're currently providing in-person tutoring at more than a third of our locations, with probably about 2/3 of them scheduled to restart in January. And we'll continue to work with that final third throughout the spring to get them back on track completely to in-person tutoring, as long as it's safe to do so. So we're very excited about that. We'll be at 30 sites this spring, and we have continued to try to increase or double our impact at sites. Again, offering either double the amount of time spent with a tutor, double the meals, double the number of books, continuing to just expand on our efforts. And so let's do, thank you, Lisa. So part of what we have been so focused on is creating a 2-year plan to be able to double our efforts. And again, each location may look different. It may not be twice a week. It may actually be just increasing the amount of time that a student is there and with a tutor. So each one of our sites may look slightly different depending on how they're set up. But we have discovered from an evidence-based perspective that what our students need most is additional one-on-one time with the tutor. So we plan over the next 2 years for all 30 sites to double the amount of time that a children reads with a trained volunteer tutor, to double the number of meals that a child receives to curb hunger and maintain their focus while they're working with us, or sending those meals home, depending on what safety requirements should have us do. And then also the number of age-appropriate and diverse books that a child takes home to build their own library and keep practicing. And of course, what we've also found is that those books help the entire family, that everyone, younger siblings, even parents benefit from those. So, and of course, all of this is possible based upon the support that you all have provided and continue to provide. And as we move forward, this is really where our efforts are going to be focused on doubling that impact. And of course, we need to continue to increase our revenue to be able to make that happen. So we are very excited about the upcoming things that we have to look forward to. So not only are we continuing to promote Double the Impact, but we will be celebrating our 15th anniversary later this spring. And so I hope that each of you will stay tuned to our e-news and special invitations, and to some really exciting opportunities to continue your involvement with Read and Feed. And so we have so much to do. Your donations and continued involvement and support will be what make this possible for us and for the students that we serve. And so we also bet that, like you also know other similarly minded folks that would love to be able to help us. And so there's a few things that you could do for us today. So anytime you get one of our e-news blast from Lisa, if you would please try to share that with someone that does not have experience with Read and Feed, that would help us so much. And again, imagine if each one of you shares with even just one other person that is not familiar or hasn't worked with Read and Feed in the past, that would be like-minded, how that could help us to double the impact. So also share our posts across social media. We would so appreciate that. Of course, we've become a society that's very heavily social media focused and conscious. And so please take a moment to share, comment, post on on top of our comment on our post, and then also tell people about our matching gift challenge. So this year we do have an incredible opportunity to bring in or match $75,000 between now and the end of the year. And we're doing very well in terms of our progress towards that. Again, today's single goal was to get to at least $10,000. I'm very confident that we're going to make that today with support. And so just remember that every new donation, every person that you introduce that may be willing to give even a small donation to Read and Feed, there's the opportunity to have that doubled. And so we greatly appreciate all that you do for the kids to help us to give them a greater appetite for reading. Thank you so much for being with us today. And then also we look forward to later this week keep watching WRAL. You'll see us on the news with some exciting announcements on Thursday for a special grant that we're receiving, and also in Triangle Business Journal has the scoop on a very significant gift that we're being awarded in the community, and that's on Thursday as well. So we do have some really exciting things happen. So stay tuned to that. And again, when you get those e-news blasts from us, please share it with someone that you also think really cares about the students in our community. And I'll turn it back over to Lisa and Nancy to take a few questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Sherry. So you can put your questions in the chat, or like I said, if you would like to unmute and ask a question, that's perfectly fine as well. We will, of course, answer them. Sherry's here, Lisa's here to talk about our programming as well. So if you've got a question, type it in.
Well,
Thank you,
thanks, Carla.
Yes, thank you. So a couple questions that have were sent in kind of a little bit ahead of time. How are we, this is for Sherry. So how are we positioned with volunteers? Do we have enough tutors for in-person training and virtual? And I know you've said like we're trying to increase and spend more time with kids.
Yes, so we're doing well with volunteers, but we absolutely, as we continue to increase services, we're still going to need more volunteers. And of course, the number one position that we need is as a tutor working directly with students. And that's probably where, if people have been hesitant because of COVID, and especially with the Delta variant, if anyone was hesitant at all around serving, it's been in that one-on-one tutoring role. We've still had folks delivering meals and sorting the thousands and thousands of books that we have received, which have been wonderful this year. But we do always need tutors. So you can go to our website and sign up at readandfeed.org. And it's a very simple, short application, and people can join our orientation to learn more, and then we'll train everyone from there. So we have actually had to add orientation sessions. We used to do this once a month, and now we're doing it at least every 2 weeks and having full groups of 25 plus. So encourage someone that you know to consider volunteering with us.
Awesome. Thank you, Sherry. So I think there's no questions in the chat. We'll go ahead and wrap up. I know we are running just a little bit long today. Thank you for your attention. So all of you were personally invited to attend this program, and I'm so glad you accepted our invitation. We're very thankful that you're here today. We appreciate everything that you do, your generous gifts, and please accept our invitation to give. And as Sherry said, share that with other folks that you may know, especially during this Double the Impact Matching Gift Challenge. It's really important. You can always follow up with Lisa and or Sherry, of course, for anything specific regarding giving that you would like to know about. Lisa can share our link to the campaign. You can give online right now through that campaign, or any other form that you typically use. Again, thank you for your gift of your time today. We're so excited to look towards the future and 22 and what that brings. And we'll be doing more of these sessions so we can keep all of you posted kind of on the progress. So have a wonderful Christmas, and thank you, everybody.
Thanks for joining us.